Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Asus TUF Gaming M4 Air. This is an ultra lightweight gaming mouse, and this is an unboxing and review video to talk to you about what this mouse is like to use, and the highlights, lowlights and features of it. I've been using this mouse for a number of weeks, so I'm happy to give you my feedback on what it's like to use and the interesting bits about it. This is a reasonably affordable gaming mouse, and one that's incredibly lightweight, despite being wired, and is very, very stealthy, as you can see from those initial shots. Now, it's obviously part of the TUF gaming range, and Asus's TUF products are often less fancy on the face of it, and yet still deliver some interesting specs and features and good value for money. This mouse will set you back around £50 sterling, which is probably about the same in dollars, so about $50, which is reasonably affordable for a gaming mouse. And yet it packs in some pretty decent specs that will match up with most of the competition. So it has 400 IPS max speed, 40 Gs acceleration, and 1000 Hz polling rate. It has a max DPI of 16,000. And they claim a weight of 47 grams. However, I will show you that mine weighs a little bit more than that. Also has a 60 million click guarantee, 6 programmable buttons, an onboard memory for up to 3 profiles, and an IPX6 water repellent rating, which means it's resistant to water jets, but not full submersion, so it should hold up over time. So as you can see, it's got a lot of holes in it to help with that lightweight design and ensure that it's easy to hold on to and flick about the desk. And this setup is actually really nice because it has a good textured grip to it and easy access to the side buttons. On the underside, you'll see there are a number of large PTFE zones. These are 100% PTFE feet, and I've found them to be very slippery, not scratchy and not problematic. On top behind the mouse wheel, there's a DPI button, and you also have those nice side buttons as well. Holes in the texture of the mouse itself, mildly rough to the point of making it grippy, which is nice. So it doesn't get slippery in the hand over time, and also it doesn't seem to get marred by finger oils or other things like that as well, so it still looks good even after quite a bit of use. Also has a nice textured mouse wheel, you'll see, and both that wheel and the buttons give a good sense of feedback without any horrible play or issues. And it's been reasonably joyful to use, I'll be honest. Now, for a weight comparison, I said that it comes in at 47 grams, at least that's their claim. I will show you that it's actually a bit heavier than that because this one weighs 52 grams. So that's quite a bit heavier than they claim. However, that is substantially lighter than even some of the more expensive lightweight mice and some that people will really rate highly, and I'll show you that in a second. Obviously the cable is going to make a difference, so if you hold the cable in the air you could probably get closer to the 47 grams, but I think that's an unrealistic measurement, to be honest. And you'll see if you put the cable on there as well, it comes in at 77 grams. Now obviously the cable's not constantly weighing it down, it's a paracord cable, it's designed to be lightweight and flexible, so it doesn't tug and it doesn't feel like it's pulling on the mouse when you're moving it around. It doesn't certainly weigh it down. And you'll see that the mouse is certainly lighter weight than the Logitech G Pro X Superlight, which is one of my favourites, and that's 63 grams. But obviously that's a wireless mouse, so it has a bit more tech in it. And here the SteelSeries Aerox 3 Ghost Edition 2022, that's 68 grams. So that's pretty impressive for the money. You're getting a mouse that's lighter than some of the most superior super lightweight gaming mice on the market, although obviously it is wired, so it doesn't have the advantage of that wireless flexibility, and also it's probably not as snazzy. Now the TUF is, as I said, very understated. You have those big holes in there, but there's no RGB lighting, so you have no RGB lighting at all on here, so it's not particularly fancy. It's not as shiny as other mice. If you're not bothered about RGB lighting, then it's not a problem. This is a good, easy to use, comfortable and satisfying mouse that I really struggled to pick holes in. I wasn't particularly blown away with it when I got it out of the box, and I thought I probably wasn't going to like it very much based on just the overall aesthetic, but actually it's a very nice mouse. It's well designed, it's comfortable, it's got some really nice accents in terms of things like that mouse wheel texture, the overall grippiness of it. Obviously I really enjoy simple things like having a DPI button on top, allow you to switch between different DPI levels, and the fact that it has specs that are comparable with more expensive mice make it really appealing. For example, the IPS and the polling rates are really high and decent, and as I said, you can flick it about really nicely. Asus also claims it has an antibacterial guard on this mouse that's designed to prevent germ build-up over time. So if you're worried about those holes, you don't really need to. Obviously some compressed air blown in there will sort out any dust ingress. And the fact that it's IPX6 rated means that it can be cleaned and you don't need to necessarily worry about spilling drinks on it, for example. But you can't fully submerge it in water, so don't try and wash it completely. Now I'm going to dive into the Armory Crate software and show you what you can do in there. So here we are within the Armory Crate software, and I want to start by showing you what I think is the most interesting features of this mouse. You'll see obviously that you can reprogram the various buttons, and you have a number of different things to choose from. One of the lowlights is you don't seem to be able to program it with macros, which is a bit of a shame, but you can see that there are a lot of other potential features in here. One of the cool ones that's pretty hidden away is stealth mode, and you'll see that it says minimize all windows and mute audio. So if you press this button, it will actually drop all the windows down and hide them all away, but also mute your audio. So you could treat this as like a boss button. If you're using it for work purposes, you're doing something you shouldn't be, you can press this button and it will shut everything down and just expose your desktop. Bit of a quirky mouse use, but something to play around with perhaps. Obviously you have the various mouse functions. You can click on here to assign various different buttons, backwards and forwards. Your standard buttons, you could change the DPI levels, for example. You can have it launch Armory Crate, take a screenshot. You can turn a button off if you don't like it, so you can disable it. Another thing that's interesting as well, if you hover over this, you'll see that you can switch between profiles. So as I said already, it has 3 onboard memory profiles, and you can see we have one up here on the top and it's stored. So when you apply something, it will apply to the mouse itself, so it'll stick into the memory of it. But what you can do is you have quick access buttons. Essentially pressing 2 button combinations will switch between the 2. Why you can't just have 2 to cycle between them, I don't know. But you press the back button and then the middle mouse button and it will change to profile 1. Press the forward button and the top mouse button, it will change to profile 2. And the DPI button and the mouse middle button and it will change to profile 3. So I'll just quickly show you that. Now you can see in the bottom corner here that you get a notice when you're changing DPI. For some reason this has been delayed. I haven't actually been switching DPI while I'm talking to you, but it'll let you know when you're changing through the various DPI levels. What it doesn't say is what those DPI levels are. So it just says DPI 1, for example. So you have to sort of know which level of DPI you're at. You can also delete a DPI level if you don't want it. So let's say you only want 2 DPI levels, you could set that there. You'll also notice that we have the polling rate set to 1000 Hz here. And you can calibrate for either high or low lift-off distance between those, and then obviously firmware updates. So again, like the mouse itself, nothing too overly fancy, no mega frills here, and some annoying distractions from this, which I'm now going to turn off. So you have a show on-screen display when you're changing DPI levels. But you do have the option to program multiple different profiles, so if you're using it for different games, that's obviously a bonus. My conclusion for this mouse is that it's great value for money. I found it to be really comfortable in the hand. It's a good size, probably about medium size. It's not too large, it's not too small. I found it fits nicely in my hand. It's easy to grip onto. The PTFE feet are slick. It's pretty lightweight in comparison with others. And it's just good fun to game with. Very difficult to pick any holes in this mouse, so I would recommend it as an option if you're looking for a wired, lightweight gaming mouse and you're not fussed about fancy things like RGB lighting. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.